Hey, Refuge Nation, Bob here. Welcome to the Refuge Collective podcast, where we feature real people with real stories to share. Today, we're talking with Rick. Rick is an individual who had to render aid in a life-saving incident and a critical incident, as well as had to defend himself and others while using Refuge Medical gear. Rick, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. We really appreciate it. So really quick, just tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background look like, and why would you carry this type of gear?
Quick background is my father was ex-military, and I was always raised around firearms and survival gear and all that stuff. Later on, I ended up being in the military for years, and I also carried medical supplies with me, tourniquets and other stuff. And I've just always been into this lifestyle as long as I can remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what was your experience with first aid? Like, have you taken any training? Did you watch and learn from
Yes,
videos?
I took I had a lot of training through the military,
Okay.
field medicine, stuff like that. So I know my way around a lot of basic life saving and some advanced as well.
Okay. What's your normal EDC look like? Like, what do you carry as somebody from the military who has training?
Well, for one thing, I can tell you that I always carry just around my house. I carry my slip kit, and
Nice.
then I carry a stud kit. Most people don't know what that is, but I've been around you guys for years
Yeah.
now. It's a tourniquet in a pouch with trauma shears as well,
Yeah.
and then I usually carry an extra tourniquet with me.
Yeah.
But if I'm going out hunting and that, I'm carrying a full bare fac and with a bunch of extra stuff in it and more tourniquets and everything else.
Yeah. Um, and so you carry this gear with you, and you've recently have had an interaction or an experience where you've had to save a life. Can
Yes,
you tell us a little bit about that event?
sure. Basically, what happened is I was at my apartment uh, a while back, and I heard some noise coming from next door, and I knew the situation of my friend broke up with a violent ex-boyfriend. So exited my house. Oh, I also do carry a firearm with me at all times. Um, I exited mine, door was ajar. I entered uh, with my pistol in the low ready position, and I saw him as he was coming down on her. She was leaning up against the couch, and he was trying to stab her, which he did in her forearm.
Wow.
And I turned to him and said, "Hey!" And expletive. He turned, lunged towards me as he was getting up, and let's just say I had to do what I had to do to protect her and myself.
Okay. So
And
she had been stabbed, right?
yes,
Was
yeah.
she experiencing bleeding? What was happening?
The knife was still in her arm.
Oh wow.
There was minor bleeding. She was in shock. She was silent. Um, and thank goodness I was carrying one of you guys' tourniquets on me. Uh, I made sure he was disarmed, even though I know he was deceased. Went over, applied a tourniquet, checked her pulse, checked her vitals, and then got on the phone to 911 to call for a bus.
Wow. Do you um do you feel like you were prepared for that event with what you had and what you knew?
Yes, yes, really do.
Okay. Do you feel like there was any big takeaways that you had from having to not just defend a life, right? But also having to render aid to save a life? Like what were some big takeaways there?
Takeaways is it's different being now a civilian than being in the military. It actually was a different mindset for me. So I was like, oh, what could happen from this? But at the same time, all my training kicked in, and it was all just instant reaction. There was really no thought involved.
Yeah.
I saw a threat, I neutralized it, and I knew I had to render aid, which I did.
Wow.
And the big takeaway is from that is I gained even closer friendship with my neighbor,
And so
who's
is she
now.
doing okay? Is she doing okay?
Oh yeah, she's fully healed. She did have a little trauma in her pinky finger, kind of twitches at times, but other than that, she's fine. She's gone to counseling, as have I, over this, and we're both doing quite well.
Wow. So, after going through an experience like this, obviously it's very traumatic. I think it's awesome that you guys are going to counseling, that you're seeking a little bit of mental health. I'd like to remind all of our listeners that if you do render aid or you have to, defend your life or another person's life, to always seek some sort of mental health professional afterwards. You don't realize what sort of trauma can get built up and how it can be bottled up. So I think that's really, really
Yes.
responsible of you. And I just want to thank you as somebody else who's had to be in hard situations. Like, you did the right thing, man. Seriously, you really did. So
Thank you for that, Bob.
do you have anything you would like to tell our listeners in regards to, like, what did you learn? What do you feel like you could have done better? And how do you think, what did you learn from this?
Well, I am also disabled
Okay.
because I do have a TBI, or traumatic brain injury, for those who do not understand, and I have motor problems on the right side of my body. Not to mention my memory at times turns to caca.
Yeah.
Um, what I learned from this is if you don't have training, please go out and get it. Not not just with firearms, but with situational awareness, with medical. If you haven't taken a course, seriously, please contact Refuge for their training stuff. I haven't personally done it myself, but eventually I'm going to get out there and take a class.
Yeah, Rick,
Um,
I'd like to invite you out to one of our classes on me. I'd like,
oh, wow. Thank you.
just right here, just tell you, like, hey, come out, take a class on us, and come brush up on your skills a little bit, because I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I thank you so much. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
There's only so much you can do with the homemade thing you did earlier in the week, or last week, was it?
yeah,
The for wound packing, in tourniquets. That's why I always love putting in the live, hey, left TQ, left arm, or whatever for you guys. I think I'm
yeah.
the only one that's done it.
It's awesome.
And yeah, and I've taught some people here at the apartments how to do basic first aid and that. And it's just fun.
Yeah, it
I
is.
love training.
Yeah,
Grant, I am physically limited, but if you are physically limited, do not let that stop you.
right.
You know,
Absolutely.
'cause,
Absolutely. Well, Rick, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story with the listeners. It's really
oh,
important
you're
for all of us to share in the wins together. That's part of the reason we do this show, is that we're able to communicate the lives saved, and we're able to tell people how this gear is actually being used in the day to day. You were just sitting at home, hanging out in your apartment, and somebody was getting hurt next door, and you were able to save a life that day. And that means so much to not just her, but also to her family and to the people around you, feeling so much safer. So thank you. Thank you again.
hey, it's what I was trained for.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
what I know.
Yeah. So Refuge Nation, we hope that you were inspired by our guest. Rick is an incredible guy. He's a selfless man who really worked to help others and to protect people. If you have a story to tell, Refuge Nation, we want to hear from you, right? So reach out to us at media@refugemedical.com. Let us know what the story is and how we can best tell it, so that way you can come on the show and we can talk to other individuals, and share the story of good and share how we save lives together. So thank you guys so much for listening. Rick, thanks so much for being on the show. As always, stay prepared.
Yes, and carry an effing tourniquet,
Carry
as
an
the
effing
saying goes.
tourniquet. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Thanks so much.